Hey guys, in this video, I just want to follow up on the one I made yesterday on keeping alignment of our cards. This is actually close to the final design for what my client is looking for. And they wanted everything lined up nicely. So we had beautiful looking spacing. So what we've done is we've done a little bit differently to my previous video. In the previous video, what I did was I told the header to be a minimum of 2 times the line height. What I've done now is I've told the heading, including the accent header, to be 2 times the line height plus the height of the accent. And then we use FlexAlign end to align this to the bottom, and we add a little bit of a border at the bottom. So in all the lines at the bottom, everything is perfectly aligned there, regardless of how many lines we're wrapping. So on the first one, we only have enough text for 1 line. In the second, we have enough text for 2 lines for wrapping. On the third one, there's enough text for 3 lines, so we're line clamping here. Now, if we didn't line clamp, what's going to happen is that's going to wrap around. So let's have a look at that. I go to that particular card, and I go to the header, heading, just take off those line clamps, line clamp classes. What will happen is that will wrap around. So with the wrapping at 3 lines, we actually lose our alignment. So, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's okay. It still looks fine because these are all pushing to the bottom. We've still got the same gap between our content and our heading. I don't actually mind that, but the client wanted it different. They wanted it so that it was all perfectly aligned across here like that. So that's what we did. We liked it. Now, someone mentioned that we could do this with subgrids. I couldn't find an effective way to do that without very, very complex grid setup. You could also, with JavaScript, what you could do is you could find the highest header block and then set them onto that height. I just went to the simple solution where we allow enough height for it to wrap onto 2 lines. If it's going to wrap onto 3, then we line clamp it so that we don't get 3 lines. That's what I ended up doing. And there's a very, very simple design here where if I roll over, I get a little bit of 3D movement on the heading, and the body text scales a little bit, and a little bit of a flash effect, which is what the customer wanted. And as I move away, we get the flash, and there's a slight, I don't know if you can see it in the video, there's a slight after effect, that which is what they actually were looking for. So this is exactly what they're wanting, and that's how we ended up doing it. So let's have a look at the actual builder and see what we've done differently from yesterday. So in yesterday's video, what we did is with these headings, we made those be a minimum height of twice the line height so that all of them are going to be the same, just like that. What we've done this time is we've gone 1 level above that. We're making the headers all the same height. We're basically setting it to 2 times the heading height plus the height of whatever that accent text is, assuming that it's never going to be long enough to wrap. So that is the way I've done it. And I'm going to show you the CSS for that now. I might just go full screen on the CSS. Actually, we're going to go back to the Bemrose here. And we'll go full screen on that. I'll try and cherry pick out the CSS that's changed. So what's here is we're not looking for the heading, we're looking for the header, which wraps the heading and it wraps the accent heading as well. So we've changed that. So our min height is now going to be 15 pixels plus 2 times the line height. Okay, and we have to do something special with that as well. Why is it 15 pixels? Because what I did is I measured at the front end, I went to one of these cards, I looked at my header, I looked at my accent, and then in my computed size, that's 14.406. So right close enough to 15. So over here, I've set it as twice the line height plus the height of my accent text is what I want. Now, what we then need to do is update obviously our CSS down here where it is detecting the hover. Again, we've just got to change that to header instead of heading, so it's referencing the right variables. In the heading, we took out the min height and the transition and the transform. We took all that out of the heading. We put that into the header. So the header is our card header min height, again, which is 2 line height plus the 15 pixels. The additional thing we had to do is we had to set our line height on the header, otherwise the line height calculation would be wrong. We have to set our font size on the header to be our heading font size. So we're setting it there, and we're also setting it on the heading. Reason I'm doing that is because you might have some specific CSS that targets headings, so we may need to actually make it just specific enough to override that. So just put it in both places, and we know that it's going to work. So that is the difference. The little effect that I put on there is a transform in here for my header. I'll basically set when my normal state for my transform of my header is none. My when we're in or when we're hovered, it's going to rotate around the x-axis 25 degrees. And if we have a look at the root, I've set my perspective of 400 pixels to give me my 3D rendering of rotations, and set my perspective origin of the top to center. So this is of the card itself. That's all I need to do so that when I rotate on the X, I get that 3D look. And then obviously we need our transition and our transform, which is the card header transform. Going down into our hover and focus, what we're doing is our card header transform. We change to be our card header transform in when we're focused or hovered, and that will give us the transform in, which is our rotate 25 degrees. So the end effect is that little rotation, like we see there, 3D rotation. Customer likes it. Kind of to me, it looks like the body is kind of coming out towards you, even though it's not. It's just scaling up, and the head is kind of flipping back. And that's a nice little effect, I think. So that's what it is. The other thing we did, because we're using cards, we've used a clickable box for we're using the text link on here. We're probably going to change that to be the heading as our actual link a little bit later. So we can tab to that, and we get our focus on the outside of it, and we still get our effect when we tab or shift tab on that as well. So that's where I got to. But the main things is we've shifted where we're setting our min height. We're setting the min height of the heading wrapper, and we're including the height of the accent heading. And we've got no spacing between these, so no row gap, which makes it easy. So we need to include that. What else was there? Oh, yeah, and then in the alignment, I think I just did this in the UI. If I have a look at it from memory, I think I just went to the header. And in the content on the UI, I think I just used the Bricks UI to align the main axis at the end. Could have done that in my CSS as well, but I just thought it was just easy to just go, yeah, it's going to align that at the bottom. Or you might decide, yeah, we're going to align that in the middle, we're going to align that at the top. I think that would look silly, aligned at the top, but because then we don't get our border at the bottom. Actually, let's have a look at what that looks like. If there's a line at the top. Nah, it's not too bad because it's got that line there. So if you want the alignment of the accent heading to be at the top there, you could do that. Or as I had it, I think it looked better in my view. So just set it to that, set it back. And these all align along there, which I think works better because the topography, spacing between your topography looks right now. It doesn't look messed up. So one thing I would note here is because the font we've got here, some fonts, when you have a lower line height, like this is set to 1.1, when we use a line clamp, it actually clips the box model for that. We can see it's clipping the bottom of the G there. If you're okay with that, that's fine. Otherwise, you might want to actually just try different line heights. So you might actually come back to the card, go to your variables on here. And this is the beauty of using variables. You don't have to go everywhere you've used it. You go back to your variables and you go, you know what, that's probably a little bit too clippy. Maybe we'll make a line height of 1.2. That's okay now. Everything lines up properly, and the G is not being clipped on here with a line height of 1.2. Let's set our font size here as well. What do we got there? The heading font size, let's change that to be just L. There we go. That maybe you like that. Maybe you want it as M. Maybe you like that sort of side there. Maybe you want bigger. So we're going to do 2XL. So you want huge settings. Everything still aligns properly because we're referencing the line height of the font, not the font size, and not a fixed variable or a scale. I think this works well. Yeah, I think that's great. So anyway, that's what I've ended up with. I thought it was worth just resharing because I did change a little bit from my initial plan due to some preferences that the client had. And it gives you a different perspective on what you can do. So I hope you like this. If you do, hit the subscribe and hit the like. Thanks, guys.